Big barrel. A big barrel. Right into the centre of the stadium.
Barrel of beer.
It's a barrel, Brownie. You don't see it
Of
very often
beer.
in modern footy. Duncan to really line up Cadinia Park. He's onto it. Has it got the legs? I reckon it has.
He drank the beer.
He'll caress it down someone's throat.
The beer.
Delicious.
Delicious. Thanks, Bagel. So, Border Barrels. We're here midweek, and the guys were already editing the intro because it is a footy intro, and we didn't really think about it. So, this one, and why we are editing it, in the beginning. So, why we are editing, I can't say it. Why we're changing the intro on the fly is because we're doing something a little bit different here tonight. So, Border Barrels is doing what they threatened to do a while back. We're doing a Beercast.
Yeah, and we took the show on the road, as they say. Get the show on the road.
Yeah, so we're over here in the beautiful sunny Wodonga, and we're here at one of the local assets, which is the Good Shed. And I'll tell you what, this is our, it's if you want craft beer, they've bloody well got it over
Mecca.
here. The Mecca.
This
You've
is our
heard us
Mecca.
mention them many times before.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd show you.
Well, it was almost like a myth. It was like, I got this beer at the Good Shed, but we'd never been here on the pod. So it was like, are they just calling some place the
There's
Good
some
Shed?
shed
Yeah.
that's good, apparently.
Yeah, they've got the goods.
We'll get to the bottom of that.
But
Yes, we
yeah,
will.
key is the goods shed, because
Yes.
they're a shed and they've got the
They
goods.
do have the goods. And tonight,
That's an unofficial. I've made that up on the spot.
We will try and
Well-
find the real answer tonight.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll see if
do
it-
our best.
see if it catches on. But one thing as well that has changed is my identity will change for tonight.
Yep.
If you're watching on video, I'll be known as Dickie Knee. Because as you can see from the video, all you can see is the back of my head. So you two might be too young for
I
that
know,
reference.
as you can see by the reaction of 1/3 of the podcast,
Yes,
one of them
okay.
is too young.
So look up Dickie Knee when you get a chance, and yeah, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't think
I'll
I've ever
explain
been
it.
more confused.
Okay, that's all right, very good. But yeah, we're here at the Good Shed, and they're doing a tap takeover.
They are.
Yeah, so we're very excited. We
Who
thought
are they
we'd
doing
come
it
over.
with?
Well, Akasha Brewing from Sydney,
You may have heard of them. And you
Yes.
should have heard of them.
Well, you've heard of them now.
or Akasha.
We'll confirm that as well.
Well, we'll
tonight.
confirm that as well tonight. We're going to learn a bit because we're sort of beer nuffies, as I'm a footy nuffie, but we're all beer nuffies that enjoy beer. So we've pulled up a stump and we're going to learn a little bit more about beer, and we're going to chat to Dan from the Good Shed at some stage, and just talk to him about his brewing establishment, and then as well we're going to talk to the guys from Akasha, whatever it may be. I can't wait to find that one out. What do you reckon, boys?
Well, I just like the event. As you mentioned, Akasha Tap Takeover. So, as we all know, COVID existed, and according to some, still does. All you, conspiracy theorists out there would suggest that COVID still exists.
Geez, I'm going to do a live sample there. Controversy.
No. But yeah, so we haven't had a lot of events
Yeah.
recently. So
No, events have been tough.
the events have been tough. So we're here, and as the Goods Shed mentioned to us, 2 years in the making, this one. So they've been planning it for a while.
Yeah, it's
And
awesome.
we're going to find out tonight how that came about. Like, that's one of the questions we've got for both Dan and Matt and Larry from Akasha is, how did we get to here? How do we go from Akasha existing and the Goods Sheds existing to them existing together for 2 hours tonight?
And the other
Exactly.
exciting part, a tap takeover, of course, implies there's some very special beers to try.
Absolutely.
So there are two very exclusive and, I hear, elusive beers, because there's not many
Absolutely.
places in Australia that actually has access to the beers that we should be able to
There's
try
zero
tonight.
places in Australia. This is the quintessential definition of exclusive, because it is exclusive to the people in this room.
Yep.
Tonight, we got 2 beers by Akasha. We've got the Jack Daniel's Barrel-Aged Imperial Stout. And as we found out, everything they produced went into cans, which was for sale only at the Taproom in Five Dock in Sydney.
Yep.
Except for the keg they have tonight. And that goes exactly the same for the Imperial Berry Sour that they've brought down. So we've got a heap more information to go on those, and we'll get to them over the course of the night, hopefully with the help of the Akasha fellas.
Yeah, for sure.
But we do have 4 others that are nice limited releases, but can be found on Akasha's website or at any craft beer place that sells Akasha, I guess.
Yep.
So they've got a Lime Zest Goes, a double hazy Mosaic IPA.
Which we've all had
Oh,
already.
bloody
in the
hell,
last
good was
week.
that?
That was delicious.
I can't wait. I'm actually, like, I love trying new beers, but I'm so excited to get that in me again. Corbin double IPA, which...
That's a classic.
It is a classic. It's
Yeah.
been on Gab's Hottest 100 previously. And then they've got the Naz XPA, which if I read that and went, Nas, the rapper,
Yeah, that's cool.
Illmatic.
Yeah.
Lil Nas,
She's
Big
just
Nas,
as
or just
cool.
Nas?
Nas. No, but it's Naz Campanella collab.
Oh, Journo Nas.
Yeah.
Naz Campanella from Triple J, who has inspired many a folk, including myself. She was incredible as their newsreader.
Yeah,
On Triple
absolute
J,
weapon. I really enjoyed listening to the news.
Yeah, and
Like what it
she's
come
transitioned. Now I don't want to get her title wrong, but it's an affairs correspondent for Triple J,
Yep.
the ABC.
Yep.
I don't want to guess as to which one. I have an inkling, but I don't want to be
But also-
completely wrong.
We've said we enjoy... Why do we enjoy the news that she read? We
What?
haven't mentioned.
Because there's no way I could do it.
There's no way I could do it. And also, I did enjoy her voice as well.
Yeah,
Smooth
but
radio voice.
she has in the past mentioned that when she was reading the news, she'd have headphones on, much like we do. But instead of hearing herself, she is getting the news fed to her by a program.
Did we say she was blind?
No, she's
So,
blind.
There you go. If
Yeah.
anyone
Yeah.
is playing
But-
along at home wondering what...
Yeah.
Yes,
They make it really difficult, reading the
Yeah,
news on
yeah,
the
yeah.
radio.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like fed to her, and she repeats what is being said in her ear immediately after. And credit to her, she powers through it, because there's been some, like, one of my favourite mispronunciations of a name.
Was
and-
you just then on
Yeah, I can't
mispronunciation?
even pronounce mispronunciation. Ange Postacoglu, which is hard at the best of times.
Yeah.
And when there's a program feeding it to you, she got Ange Pasticoglu. And my wife and I, when he appears on TV, will still call him Ange Pasticoglu. Because why not? It's way better.
And it's still better than I could have done.
But yeah, that's a beer that they've done for International Women's Day with Naz Campanella and Reckless Brewing. So
Well, she'll be one we'll have to talk to next because I didn't know she was into beer. She's even better now.
yeah, how good.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so 6 beers. Well, actually, a 7th beer we're currently drinking, which is not a mainstay, but is on the. For anyone that doesn't know, the Good Shed have 16 tap beers, 4 mainstays and 12 regular rotations, and currently they have the Akasha Canada Bay XPA.
Yes, which is
Easy drinking.
delicious.
Yeah,
and
and
easy drinking, yes.
For someone that is coming in not from a non-craft beer background, it is one that I'd recommend. It's very light and yeah, it's tasty.
Yeah,
Is the best thing I can say about it.
absolutely.
Not the best thing. It's one of the things.
Yeah, no, it's
Well,
good.
I'm excited, but I reckon we just got to get this rolling, don't we? We got to get
Yeah.
this show on the road.
I think we do. So we'll bloody, I don't know. We'll have a bit more of a chat about a few things, but we're gonna try and I don't know what order all go in. There's a doggo.
There's a dog
doggo
here.
in here.
What is it with this podcast and just dogs?
Just turning up and just having a chat. But yeah, we're gonna hopefully speak to Dan from Good Shed and ask about this fine establishment, as I mentioned earlier, and we're going to talk to the boys about beer and hopefully learn a thing or two.
Absolutely.
What do you reckon? We might pull up stumps there for a minute and just go and see what's what.
Yep, Stumps on day 1. What are we?
No wickets have fallen yet.
Yeah,
So.
none for at least 120,
Yeah,
I
no,
reckon,
it's not
at the
too
moment.
bad. And
But,
this one might be a bit jumpy because we're going to do a few cuts and a few edits because we can't do it continuously because we want to make sure we don't we want to fall in with the venue and we don't want to interrupt them. So
And
we're
like,
going to try and do it
I
around.
want to enjoy, like, I want to get some beers in me as well.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Well, that's a good reason.
Like I'm
Good
turning
enough.
up.
That's a good enough. You're getting turned up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, lit.
That's the go. Litmus. We'll give it the litmus test.
Yes.
All right, no worries. Well, we might just pause there for a moment and we'll see if we can pinch someone. And
Yeah.
have a bit of a chat to
Well,
them.
yeah, we'll be back soon.
Rightio, and we're back. Border Barrels Beercast, numero uno, number 1. So we've got our first. This might officially be our first guest on any of the podcasts we've done.
Well, aside from Cooter's bird.
Yeah, aside from Cooter, my golden retriever the other week there. So we're lucky enough to have Dan from the Good Shed with us here today.
Hey, boys.
Welcome, Dan. Welcome, Dan. We're absolutely thrilled to be down here at the Good Shed because, we're all willing participants in what you're doing, and we absolutely bloody love it down here. But we've got
Sure, I've never seen you before.
Come on, yeah, that's what you tell. That's what you tell the cops when they come. So, we're all very excited, and we've got a couple of questions for you, but don't worry, they're not too bad. Hutto, you want to lead us off?
Well, it was just my first question was basically, let's give the people a bit of history about the Good Shed. How did we start? What was how did you come from nothing to this, basically? No.
Not saying you were nothing.
No.
Nothing.
I mean, like, how was this? This was an empty building, and now it's the vibrant goods shed, as we've come to know.
Yeah, it's that whole dream comes reality sort of thing. Yes, Hudson. Yeah, that's what you meant, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did my time in corporate world, and became a lover of food and wine, beer, all of the stuff you guys love, and to the point of really wanting to go do my own thing and something I was passionate in. Learned a lot of good things in corporate to bring with me along the way to a small business, and then started the process of finding a venue, and I'd probably say I was lucky to just at the right time ask the right question about this empty, how it was, the whole railway precinct was getting redeveloped, and timing was on my side when I asked that question, and this empty building just had so much potential when we walked in it, and is what it is today.
I have to say that's one of the first things I had written down, this location, because the Good Shed was here pretty much first, wasn't it?
Not too much has changed since, a bit of landscaping and stuff, but the 3 original businesses that are around here are all doing really well, all really trying to be top of the game for the Albury-Wodonga region, we pitched a really, what we thought was a really, unique idea for the region to the Places Victoria, the state government body that was developing the area. We had competition from, some bigger groups that, and we had no business experience, and we actually still got the nod over them because of, the passion and what we were trying to bring, versus just same old. So, awesome.
Well, one would argue. I tell you what, it's a thriving metropolis over here now. It just keeps growing. There's just, every time I come over here, there's something new, and it's just the best bloody spot. And I'll tell you what, there's no science to this, but I would have to say this place has the best sunsets.
It is, because it's the water tank out front, and like some would argue the big bucket of chicken across the road as well. It really helps. Yeah, it's bloody beautiful.
It's honestly it's a fantastic place.
It's just so funny. I grew up across the old railway tracks in central Wodonga there.
You've never told us that, Hudson.
No, that's exclusive. Yeah. But I remember jumping over the railway tracks to go to KFC, even the gym down the road, and it's just so weird to think of what it was, it was essentially an unused railway station. And now there's, the Good Shed, and it's almost like all this stuff it feels like it was built around here. This was like you said, the early adopter, and now they've got the grassed area out there. They hold markets.
When we come to Wodonga, this is the centre of our world.
Yeah, so. I don't. My parents live in Wodonga, and I think I come to Wodonga for this more than I come to see them. So,
think or no?
No. Yeah. Well, you can tell me that.
But one thing as well that we've always talked about, and we've got our own ideas, but the name. Where does the name come from? And what exactly does it mean?
It's quite boring, actually, Zach. It's literally the name of the building. Yeah, so with every good railway precinct, there's the passenger station and the goods station, or whatever you want to call it, goods shed. So all the oldies used to come in, not so much anymore, they're getting pretty old, I think, and used to tell us stories of picking up their parcel literally off the platform just outside this building. So this is where the goods trains come in. They, load off to the Tallangata line and take all the freight. And, so literally we went round and round on brand, logo, name, and we decided to stay true and simple, and sometimes that is better than not. Yeah, but I definitely am a believer of, especially your logo or in your name, you've got to grow into it. It's never going to feel right initially.
Yeah.
Probably you guys went through the same with your board of barrels, just like, and you try and be funny, and then you go, that wasn't really funny, and you're right, let's just bring it back and keep it simple. So and it felt, we're selling goods. It just felt like it made sense. So
well, that was my thing. It's like my guess was, well, it's a shed and it's got the goods, so kind of names itself. But it's funny you say with the names. It's so true. Like until you've got to grow into that name. Like I know, like Zach over there, we know him as Zach, but if all of a sudden he came in, he's like, oh, my name's Trevor, you'd be like, nah, it feels weird.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah.
I'm going to try that now.
Yeah, you just hi, I'm Trevor.
See if you can jump into another name. Now, we're here for a very special event tonight. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm going to make an assumption that you guys love Akasha as much as we do, but definitely one of our staff favourites here, Akasha. We have, stronger relationships with some breweries over others, probably, to be honest, based on what they produce, and, that's what makes you love them. So, really good mix of solid core beers, but release really awesome limiteds, and really killing the IPA scene as well. So we've been trying to have this event for 2 years, and can you imagine what got in the road in the last 2 years?
Yes.
Let's not mention the dirty name, but here we are. We finally got it off the ground. Got Larry up, great bloke, which I hope you're going to talk to a bit later. He's really awesome sales rep, and really helps us sell good beer. It's a really tough job sometimes when all you're trying to do is put a really nice beer in people's hands, and you guys don't have to sell that story to you guys. It's pretty cool what the Australian landscape's done since we've opened. We've been open 6 years now.
Absolutely.
And what's changed in those 6 years has been extraordinary. Not only us, but the landscape itself.
As sort of Hutto mentioned before, early adopters and that sort of thing. You guys were sort of doing it before everyone else was doing it, one would argue. And I think in the past, in that 6 years, it's absolutely blown up. But it's because of places like this that it does, It's absolutely, it's awesome. It's fantastic. It's a great event.
Absolutely.
And done a few of them, and this is the first one that we've covered live. But it's great.
Simon Isles, Porter Barrel.
That's it. But it's got a great vibe, and hopefully it can continue. Now we've asked you a bunch of questions. Not saying that you would have questions for us, but is there anything that we haven't covered, or any message you want to get out there for the listeners and people watching on YouTube?
That's probably a stumper, isn't it, that one?
Oh.
I was just going to ask you guys a question.
Oh, absolutely. Of course you can.
Yeah, how did you guys get into craft beer? And, all locals, and if you are, that's, a tougher part. When you're regional, you don't get as much access to this sort of stuff. So how did you guys get into craft beer?
Lead us off, Zach. You love talking. Give it a go.
I was lucky. I had a mate that worked in the kitchen at Bridge Road in Beechworth, who, funnily enough, is now only a VB drinker and tries to give me crap all the time about how he got me into craft beer. And that's sort of true, but I can remember, I think I was about 23, and we went down to Mrs. Palmer's in Melbourne, who I just found out is closing, unfortunately, but after 16 years. But we ended up meeting up with Ben Krause while we were there, because my mate obviously worked at Beechworth and knew him, and he was in town. And we spent a night on the Beechworth Pales, and introduced me to Hargreaves Hill as well. And we flew out the next day to the Gold Coast for a week. And when I got back, all I could tell people was, the first night in Melbourne was great. Like, having these beers. Like, it was fantastic. And I had, like, a Fat Yak before. And at the time, like, it was the strangest thing I'd ever tasted. And it was fine. But I was like, how do people drink much of this? And then after that, I was like, oh, okay. And my mate would bring me new Beechworth beers, Bridge Road beers when they got them. And one thing led to another. And then that sort of opens Pandora's box. And then you try and get to as many places as you can. So, yeah, that was my story.
Mine's pretty generic, I think. It was, being the younger of the three, I reckon I kind of just fell into it. Like the start of the craft beer scene was happening kind of as I started drinking. So started drinking makes it sound like that's all I do. But like when I was going, yeah, when I was going into a bottle shop, and I'm still now when I buy beers, it's like, oh, that's a cool design. And so, like, I just kind of went in, and it's the same like the first kind of craft beer at the time. It was like, oh yeah, Fat Yak, like Stone and Wood, how good. And now it's like developed into like, oh, I'm not drinking that unless it's a double oak cream IPA, and like, but yeah, it's that just, and it's so funny. I think we can all four of us kind of. Like you start and it's just like, oh yeah, I knew Carlton's and all this kind of stuff, and then you're like, a craft beer to me back then was a Stone and Wood Pacific Ale, whereas now, like, yeah, it's crazy what it's become. But yeah, pretty generic for me. I think it's just saw a beer, liked it, tasted good, and then I was like, oh sweet, because I remember like when you're like early, like your dad would let you sip a beer and it's like, this is horrible. And then you get old enough and it's like, I reckon I could probably deal with it. And then all of a sudden these like really cool beers are coming out. It's like, oh, okay, I get it.
What will our kids think of our beers?
Oh, absolutely. It'll be like swings and roundabouts though. It'll get to like when our kids are 18 and like Carlton will be back or something. Like they'll
Craft then.
because like vinyls all of a sudden are like you can't find them anywhere. It's like all the mainstream beers will be unheard of.
And as for me, funnily enough, you're involved in this story. The Good Shed is involved in this story, and you can concur with this.
Absolutely.
So I think my first dabble was Australia Day, and I'm like, yeah, no worries. I'll get something. You normally get a carton or something and drink half. By the end of it, there's just half drunken bottles around because you just start opening them after a while. And I had about 12 Stone and Woods, and boy, oh boy, was I sick. And I learned that you don't drink craft beer like that. But anyway, where you come into it, I reckon one of the first times that I remember was sitting over there on Australia Day.
Yep.
And I was with, I think, you guys, and there was like the mystery bucket, and there was a glistening silver bullet in there. It was an Akasha lager. And no word of a lie, I was like, geez, this isn't bad. It's pretty tasty. And I think the other one might have been the Hopsmith IPA in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So from that mystery bucket came my love of it. And now I've just have severe FOMO. Any new releases. Like, I've had a bunch from these guys. Any new releases, we come over here and it's like, oh, I'll grab one for a takeaway. Well, it's going to be 6. You know, that fridge, I'll tell you what, you can't get away from it.
Yeah, Emma comes out and she's like, oh, we've got this 6. And it's like, oh, I guess I'm buying them all.
Does an excellent job. But yeah, that's where...
Well, she knows her market.
She does. No, but that's where the love came for me. But these boys introduced me to it. And now it's tough to get out of. It's so tasty.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
For yourself, when you were buying beers, even before Good Shed, but even when Good Shed first started, how do you know about breweries to get in here? And
yeah, I suppose from that, I did a fair bit of travel with corporate and always looking for nice places, just different food, different anything. So I suppose I think you just go a bit in your nature, just wanting to try something new and experience new flavours. Is you either have that in your nature or you don't. And and we still get a lot of people coming here, and all they want is a northern or a draft. And we make sure we can cater that. We've got a nice approachable end as well. But for the people who just want to try new things, I think that's where where it's really come a long way, the landscape as well, is, everyone's gotten onto that, so everyone's up their rotational. They're really trying to do more in that space and just let people experience new things, life's short and all that, and let's enjoy new things. So I'll admit to not being massive on IPAs even when we opened, they were pretty big to my taste buds.
Yep.
I'd have a little bit, and then go, it's hard to drive after having an IPA or two as well. So my go-to is still Canada Bay XVA. It's 4.2%, easy going, but, I can have one or two and then, still be able to get home. But, when tonight, I'm sure I'll have a double hazy mosaic and be in heaven, So for me, it's, it's a big I think, and that's one thing that's interesting. Like, no one that'll listen to this will be a Carlton Draft drinker probably, but it's it's interesting that people just have this stick. Some people have this stigma that craft beer can't be a normal person's beer. I can't really put those inverted commas onto a podcast, but whereas it's just about variety and being able to find something for everyone, and that's what we're really trying to do. I mean, open people up to just something new, even if it is still just a nice lager. But
it's very, like you say, with it's similar to food in that regard. Like when you go out for dinner, like I always laugh at my wife because it's like, I'll get the palmy. It's like, do you want to, like we're at a different venue. Do you want to get something different?
We're in Victoria right now. You meant to say Palmer.
Sorry. But yeah, it's like I can't remember the last time that I'd had a beer, like a craft beer, twice. Like, and that's, like you said, that's like my journey is like just tasting everything. Because like they're so different. And like you said, like you get, like we've had a lot of beers that we could be like, oh, this is very Carlton Draft or Northern. Like there's, I don't like, I love hearing people when they try something that we think similar to a Northern. They're like, no. And
they used to about not trying things twice. We have all tried the double hazy IPA already in the last 2 weeks, and we're very excited that it was going to be here on tap to have it again because it's fantastic.
Yes.
But Hutto was just mentioning about food, and just a fun little question because we've seen mates try it many times and fail miserably. Can you eat the hottest El Diablo, which is one of the fine pizzas at this establishment?
I think one, maybe two people have done it, but I was very angry at the kitchen. I never get angry at the kitchen, but I was angry at the kitchen when an El Diablo got finished because I think the batch of chilies had toned down too much to let them get through it, and I was very unhappy. We've seen so many catastrophic failures to the point where we've had to put a waiver on it, which I'm sure you know, and that has, like, it's not a legitimate legal thing, but it's probably mostly to just make the customer wake up, and just because it's mainly the blokes, they get all macho, and we had this guy and he rubbed it in his eye, he went to the toilets, come back, he literally, we had to catch him, he passed out. Yeah, he literally was going to bang his head on the step. Yeah, so but everyone just thinking, she'll be right. So just making sure everyone takes it seriously, and there is some people who can get close, but it's mainly fun, a bunch of blokes laughing at their mate who tried and failed miserably. Yeah. I can't even, if I smell it when I'm taking it out, it does me, and I handle medium. Yeah. Have you guys had a crack?
I'm like the very base level, and I get halfway through and I'm like sweating.
Yeah, that's
like
perfect.
We actually one night did have all 5 people at a table all sort of give it a go, and there was a range from one of the boys, like you couldn't actually be near his face, and then it ranged to probably maybe a little better than you, Hudson, maybe.
Definitely, yeah.
Whereas I could get through and it was like incredibly hot, and then I got one mate who was sweating, but it was like, I'm fine. Another mate whose eyes bulged out of his head, and he couldn't speak for a little while, so that was good. That was
just all having one piece each, or
just all giving it a go. That was actually my engagement party, which we had here because had to have that here, of course. And we're upstairs as one of the boys. Everyone caught on and thought that was definitely very
that's why
funny.
we've kept it, because it's we're it's be as serious as you want, but it's about having a bit of fun, just like what you guys are doing with this podcast. Enjoying life and everything about it and having a bit of fun, and that's what that pizza will probably never come off because of that. But it's good fun to see people hurting from it, for sure.
Yeah, it is, and I do remember that, and I decided to stay out of it, and I think I made a good decision because that certainly
maybe
did a
tonight.
few people. Yeah, well, it could be tonight, could be the night.
Little bonus segment on the pod, Simo trying his first El Diablo. How good!
Well, I know anything hot, I start hiccuping. I don't know if that's a common reaction, but I know if something's hot, like I'll taste a hot sauce, I'll start hiccuping. So my brain's just like, nope. So I wouldn't say I'd be able to handle it.
Smart brain.
Yeah, well, that's the first time anyone said that in reference to me, Dan, so thank you very much. Anything more before we wrap up there?
No, just thank you for the support, guys, and making helping this place to be the place it is. So.
Yeah, that's the go. Well, for any of those guys that want to look into the Good Shed on Instagram, also on Facebook. It's over here at beautiful Junction Square in Wodonga, and it has the goods.
Absolutely.
We're trying to coin a phrase. We're trying to. I was really interested in the origin story, but because we just, as Hudson said, we just thought it was a shed and it had the goods. But
I
that
probably
was,
didn't even just elaborate. The trains came through here. Did you pick up on that? Yeah,
Yes,
literally. Yeah, that's
right.
That, the big slider.
Oh, like
there.
this? We're on the...
right, and it got loaded
to,
here.
There
and that sort
literally
of-
was one train line and a big loading dock. Off the side here.
Yeah, it all makes sense. Honestly, I've learned a lot here tonight. That's
It's all
fantastic.
clicking for you.
No, it is all clicking. No, it's fantastic. Thanks for your time, Dan. I know you're a busy
absolutely.
man,
Thanks,
and
boys.
I know you're gonna have a busy night ahead. There's plenty of people in already, so thanks for taking the time to have a chat to us.
No worries. Thank you.
Good on
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Basil.
We're back. I'm not too sure how smooth that edit will be, but there was a slight
Probably
panic.
terrible.
Yeah, there was a slight panic because
Hutto threw the headphones off and stood up. He was
Yes.
that wild.
I
He
was
did,
worried.
yes.
I was flat out worried.
And I'll tell you why he was worried, because we just had an excellent little sit down with Dan from the Good Shed, and I learnt so much, and I'm even more about this place. It's absolutely bloody awesome. So thanks.
I'm not
to
fucking
Dan.
leaving.
I'm not fucking leaving. So we were lucky enough to just try. Gratzy's got a bit of a tasting paddle. We tried the first two, and Hutto, help me out with the names.
The first one, hopefully, that you went through first, the lime zest goes.
Yes,
Or-
and I can tell you.
Would you say goes? Goze?
Well, I'm not too
Goze
sure.
makes it sound real
We will
fancy,
ask,
though.
we'll ask Larry.
We'll ask him. We'll find this out, but all I can tell you is it's lime zest gone.
Yeah,
is,
it was bloody good.
Completely empty. So
I just wanted to quickly mention Zach's tasting paddle looks a bit like it's made by Skittles. Taste the rainbow. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot going on.
there is a lot going on. Look at the colours. It's amazing.
So, actually, just trying to think. These three combination of colour. I always think we were a footy podcast. I see a different array of colour combinations.
That's probably
Adelaide?
Crows.
And I think, could that be a footy team? And you're actually probably right. It's pretty close to Adelaide.
Well, it's a bit darker than a navy blue, but it's as close as we're going to get.
And for anyone only listening to this, we've actually got a hazy IPA, a berry sour, and an imperial stout, which is why we've got the three colours in the range.
It's why we've got the three.
Three fantastic beers.
The citrus goes or goze, which we will find out.
The lime.
Lime.
Well,
Sorry,
well,
let
can
me
we put bets
let
on?
me read off my book.
Oh, yeah.
Booklet of notes.
Okay, you go first.
I just wanted to I'll give you a quick rundown on the beer and then we'll discuss it.
Done.
So Lime Zest goes by Akasha, still don't know. Dan did mention after we finished recording that he goes with Akasha, but he's not 100% sure, so we're still...
I like how you threw goes in there at the same time. He goes with Akasha. We don't
Yeah.
know either.
Yeah, it's one of those mysteries that we may never know.
No, we will. We'll find out.
We'll
no,
find out.
the Akasha boys might just be like,
We're not sure either.
don't know. We
No.
just go with it. But yeah, so the Lime Zest goes 4.5%. Do you want me to read the beer blurb that
Sure.
they've given me?
I love a blurb.
Righto. I don't know if this is on the can, but it's even better. You haven't experienced fresh until you've experienced lime zest. We hand-peeled hundreds of limes to create a tart goes powered by the freshest fruit possible for a super citrusy zing with a slightly salty margarita-like finish. You can thank us later.
Yeah, well, I will be thanking them
yeah.
later because it was delicious.
And we will thank you.
I did a bit of research on this beer, and it's Persian limes, which is the most common lime,
Okay.
which I didn't know.
I didn't know that.
And it's much, much better than a kaffir lime. That's
Yes.
all I know based on taste.
Yes.
Because another place, I won't mention them, but they do, they have kaffir lime in their drink, and poor choice of lime.
But is that
Yeah.
a personal...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad drink by any means. I'm just saying, for me,
We're
Persian
preferring
lime.
this.
I'm a
Yeah.
Persian lime kind of guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying them
No,
kaffir
actually, I
limes
feel
are
like
bad
I knew.
limes.
I feel like I knew that about you somehow. You give off the
just-
vibe that you're a Persian lime sort of guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can tell. You can tell.
He just looks. He's got that Persian and lime look.
So I'm going to put a bet. It's either goes or goza. I don't think it's goze.
No, it's
No, it's
definitely
definitely
not
not
Gose.
No, Gose is the most fun one to actually say.
I just like
Oh.
Gose because it makes it sound like
Gose.
wine drinkers. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm having a Gose.
Yes.
My lime Gose.
Now listen,
Sorry, Connor
for all
goes
those wine drinkers out there, look, we're going to come see you as well because we're
Absolutely.
going to make some trips out to Rutherglen and all that coming up soon.
Are we?
Well, look,
Oh,
I'll-
teasing something.
Yeah, might have been teasing something.
I'm actually, like you said, I think this was in the intro that you were real keen on getting this. Like, we're doing beer tonight, we're keen on doing wine, we're keen on doing whiskey. I can't wait for the whiskey one because, as we know, Simo struggles
Yeah,
through
I'll
spirit.
be driving.
I know exactly what will happen after listening to an old podcast of ours. He will wake up at 10 p.m. at his place of business using a toilet roll as a pillow.
Yes, well, that's what happened. I'm worried about the last in the lineup there because it's got
the-
Jim Beam in the name.
Jack Daniels.
Oh, Jack Daniels. No, it might be fine. That's all right. I'll be clear. I thought I was. Oh, Hutto, you all right, buddy? Right.
It wouldn't be a Border Barrels podcast or Beercast without a bodily function.
Well, that's true.
Now, Lime Zest goes. What are we thinking? What are our thoughts? Like, we've all got through it. As you can see, the back of Simo in the video, you can see the back of Simo's head putting a Naz XPA into his mouth. So he's obviously gotten through it.
Yep. It was delicious. I wish I mowed a lawn beforehand because it would be absolutely delectable after that. Just very refreshing. I thought it was fantastic. It's one of the tastier ones I've had. It's
Yep.
full flavoured as well. So some of them can be a little bit light, a little bit not much going on, but I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Zach?
Quite tart be a correct sort of
Yeah.
explanation for
Yeah.
that, because I find when something is tart, we mentioned this with other stronger beers, one and done. Now, I would have one of this and no more, but not because I didn't like it. It was absolutely delicious. You don't need more than one.
Absolutely.
That flavour is actually so strong and so delicious that trying to have more would probably spoil it. But if I go on Untapped, rating it against the other Gozes that I've had, it's probably around a 4.25 easily.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to add to that, though, you say it was tart. It's interesting because I would say it's kind of fits in that situation where it's very tart, but it's also not tart because I thought it was going to be more tart. I've said tart a lot here, but you know
It's
what I
not
mean?
hard to do.
When I read it, Lime Zest goes, I was like, ooh, she's going to be bitter. Like, it's going to attack my taste buds.
Yeah.
And it didn't do that,
was
but
smooth.
that's what I mean. It had the perfect tartness. Really, really nice beer, and I'll
Interestingly-
go out on a limb and say when I read the name, I was hesitant.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
good.
my favourite style,
Yeah.
but that one is a great. It's the perfect example of exponent of the style.
Yeah. It was excellent.
Interestingly, you guys picked it first, not buying the tasting paddle. On the tasting paddle, it's second.
After the XPA.
Yes, first is the
Oh,
XPA, which we
we've
will
done
now,
it in the wrong
which is
way.
okay, but we will
Whoa.
now transition to the NAS.
Do you know why it's first and why the Naz is first? For the people that don't know beers, like we don't know beers, this would be my assumption would be you would start with the lightest and work your way up.
Yes.
But yeah, see, we made a mistake. 'cause
Thank you.
Then you would do
Our
the
garlic bread's arrived.
How good.
Hope you can't smell my breath over this Spotify podcast.
We should have definitely had the go second because it would have been a perfect palate cleanser for the next few beers. But alas, we have had it first.
I've got a little bit left. I've got a little bit left.
Now we're here, the Naz XPA. So we mentioned this in the intro, done with Reckless Brewing and Naz Campanella from Triple J.
Did we mention, though, that I'm not sure if we did, and the reason why they've brewed this beer is International Women's Day.
I'm not sure we did, but we can mention it
And
again.
we should mention that, because if we made out at the beginning like we're not just amazed by what she does, we're in awe of what she does.
Absolutely.
And I think they are too, which is why they've brewed this beer in her honour and
Yeah.
with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've done a little bit of Instagram stalking,
Yep.
as one would. So she actually put it up on her Instagram as well. So her not her most recent post, but the post before, she's put up the beer can and the information on it, as we've just got some chips brought to us as well. So on the can, which is really cool, there's actually braille on the can saying NAS XPA. Awesome. What a good touch.
That is one of the coolest things I've ever heard. And
That's one for the can wall.
Yeah,
Yep,
that
absolutely
honestly is.
And the colours on the can might seem like it's a pretty cool can design. Now, I don't have one here to show you. Insert can here.
Yes.
I won't do that.
That'd be amazing if you
Yeah,
could.
I'm not going to do that. But for people that want to research it, it's deliberate. The colours are there to help, what did I write? People with low vision.
Yeah.
So there is a point to the can art, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But yeah, I just wanted, in the intro, I had no idea what Naz did. I kind of guessed.
Yep.
She is the ABC's Disability Affairs Officer.
Yeah, right.
And if she's listening, congratulations, because she's just had a son.
Oh,
So good on Naz. And her Instagram handle says, proud mum, lover of yoga, supporting people with disabilities to tell their own stories, which just adds to our feeling of awe towards her.
Well, hang on. What was her baby's name? I'm going to do a shout out to.
Well, I didn't want to because it's her kind of. I'll let you do that. Yeah, everyone can do their own research. It is on there, but it's like the name goes with the baby's face.
That's
you want to look at
Nas.
the little. Yeah, that's
Yes, little Nas.
little Nas X.
Yeah, good. Perfect.
But yeah, that's so that's a little bit of backstory on the NAS XPA. 4.2% easy drinking XPA with notes of tropical fruit and stone fruit.
Yep, I would agree. Delicious.
So I'm about to have my second sip, which is definitely the most flavorful sip.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, I reckon we cheers these drinks.
Cheers to
And
Naz.
we transition on.
Cheers to Reckless. Cheers to Akasha.
And Lil Nas X.
And cheers to me knowing how to make this transition into the next segment.
Which is us eating garlic
You
bread.
press
Yes.
one of these.
Oh, that one?
Whichever. Oh, not that one.
Oh, not that one. This one. Ha ha.
Thanks, Basil.
All right, Border Barrels Beercast is back. Sorry,
we're back.
Gratsy.
Jeez,
Yeah, we're
I
back.
didn't
No,
know
I
we were back.
just jumped straight into it.
Yeah.
I thought we'd better
Thank
get
you.
over it, get into it because fair bit of work needs to be done here. We're taking Larry away from his job. So
This is some pretty hard stuff I'm doing here.
Yeah,
Sitting around
exactly.
drinking beers and having shit banter.
Nah, what a job. So I just wanted to welcome you on behalf of the podcast, and it's an awesome event that we've got down here at the Good Shed. Now, we've heard two pronunciations. We need to get it out there. We say Akasha.
Yep.
Are we correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Akasha.
Excellent. Good stuff.
Yeah.
We'll
It
just
can be a bit tricky. There's a few different pronunciations that I've heard, but Akasha is the one.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, Boyakasha.
We're going to have to tell Dan that he's wrong.
Yeah. Well, no, I just wasn't sure. No, but yeah, I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the boys.
Thanks, guys.
And sort of sit down here. We've got a few tasters. We'll probably ask you a few questions and run through a few of those if I can get
Sounds
my
like a
words
plan,
out.
yeah.
Excellent. Good stuff.
Just before you get into it, Corbett,
This is the Corbin, yeah.
yeah, your pick of the bunch.
Oh, it's so hard to pick one. I mean, you've got two beers here that aren't going to be poured anywhere else. Like, it's hard to go over those for a Corbin, but I think just at this point in the night, a Corbin is a good choice. You know?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
We've been drinking the Corbin for a while.
Yeah.
And Dan confirmed something for us earlier.
Yeah.
One of the first movies I can remember seeing at the cinema, my dad took me to see The Fifth Element.
Yep.
And I thought, I reckon that's got to be the link somehow. And I
Yep.
believe that it is.
You are right, yeah. So it did actually used to be called the Corbin D double IPA. And, you know, if you go back a ways to when the brewery was sort of founded, we had a bit of a different look about the brewery, and I guess the beers were kind of element themed, and the old logo kind of reflected that. So we had the four different elements of the beer. There was the fire, which was the fire within amber ale, the water, which is the freshwater pale ale, the earth, which is the hopsmith, and the wind, which is our trade wind lager. And then as a bit of a play on that, we also brought in the Corbin D reference to the movie, The Fifth Element double IPA. So, a bit of interplay there, but we've come a long way since then, and it's a long explanation. That's a pretty niche reference as well. So we kind of like dropped the extra D and just now the Corbin double IPA.
For anyone that hasn't seen it, it's a sci-fi classic. I'm not even a sci-fi fan, but you have to see it.
Absolute banger of a movie. Absolute banger.
I haven't seen it, so I'll be going
Bruce
straight
Willis
home
with
and watch
hair.
it. Oh, see, that makes me uncomfortable.
Mila Jovovich, sick outfits.
Yeah.
Great, like sci-fi setting.
Multi-pass.
Exactly.
Well, as well, just one thing I need to mention before the microphone tips over is we're talking with Dan about our first sort of craft beer experiences. I remember when I had my first craft beer.
Yep.
But yeah, I part of it I did mention was here, and it was a mystery bucket, and it was an Akasha lager,
Oh yeah, cool.
and it was bloody delicious.
That would have been probably a trade wind, I would say.
Yeah, and then the second one, I think was the Hopsmith at that stage. It was on Australia Day, and the sun was coming through the window there, and it was bloody delicious. So
That's great to hear. Yeah, that's actually trade wind's probably one of my favourite beers that we do.
yeah,
We don't do it in cans anymore, but it is always available in draft.
yep,
And funny story, Dave, our founder and owner, he always said he would never make a lager. He just would never make a lager.
Yep.
His whole thing was hops, American beers, IPAs,
Yep.
that kind of stuff. And then I think a little while after starting the brewery, decided, well, I should probably try and make a lager. Did it, and Tradewind is an absolutely awesome beer. Like just a bit of a new world kind of lager. Has some Galaxy in there, but nice and clean, very dry. I love that beer. I could drink it all day, which is, I guess the point of the beer, right?
yeah, exactly. Not perfect.
Now, you mentioned like American style beers and stuff. So I was
Yep.
did a very like we're not known for our research, but I read that Dan, sorry, not Dan, the founder,
Dave.
Dave,
Dave,
damn,
yeah.
so close.
Close. D's.
Dave, he started Akasha in his from his travels to America. Is that
Yeah. So Dave used to, in a past life before he was involved in beer, used to do a lot of travel to the States, and just fell in love with all the beer over there, which I think is probably a pretty common story because it's such an amazing beer scene there. With, and we're talking about probably 10 to 15, 20 years ago when it was, what we have in Australia is not even like what it is now. It's so different.
absolutely
And probably got exposed to all this amazing kind of stuff and decided, I want to bring this, back home and do our own thing. So, definitely a huge influence for him from the States, just from a lot of travel there. And I think people who, listeners of yours who go to the States a bit or have been, can attest that, there's some amazing IPAs there that just, are, quite different to what we get here, which is, they're great.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome.
You mentioned the lager not being in cans
Yep.
anymore. Can art's a huge selling point now, as I'm sure a lot of breweries understand. And like Hudson and I have been known to collect a few over
doubt.
time.
Yeah,
I've got a few of the Akasha ones. Yep, definitely. And I love the aesthetic as well, and a lot of your guys' stuff. It's fantastic.
Awesome,
but do you guys have like just someone in-house that's also good at graphic design, or does that get outsourced to someone else with just a brief? Or
So it gets outsourced to someone who has a brief. This is a dedicated design company. And they have, so there's two guys. There's one of them is the designer and illustrator, and the other guy is kind of like the brand and copy guy. And I think these guys work together to develop what a look, the aesthetic will be for a can, as well as what the brief or what the inspiration behind a beer and a name will be. So unfortunately, there's no one probably in-house who's quite talented enough to be able to do the kind of stuff that these guys do. But definitely has to go out to make sure it looks as good as possible.
When you're brewing a beer, do you have in mind what the can kind of will look like? When you're brewing it, is it like we're going to let the beer speak for itself, or are you like we're going to put a lot into this can design and it's going to be the number one selling factor, or like where do you put your weight in the can design process as well as the brewing?
For us, the beer always is the most important thing. There's probably always like ideas that come up, maybe during the brewing process that can give the brewers or anyone else in the brewery an idea of what they want to call the beer or where that direction might lead. But I wouldn't say we've ever probably brewed a beer that has where the first step has been the name or the can or whatever. It's always been the beer itself, and then we try and work around that beer. And like say for example, some of the cans I just gave you guys, we've got a beer called Electric Boots and Mohair Suits.
Yep.
That's a lyric from Benny the Jets, which is an Elton John song, and that's sort of on there because, it's a great tune, but like one of our brewers' favourites, and that song's often playing in the brewery. So like that was purely just, look, this is the beer is an oat cream IPA, this is what we're putting into it, this is what it's going to taste like and look like, and then we're like, all right, what do we call it? Rather than trying to call it something like a pun on oat cream or whatever, we were just like, well, the brewers love this song, it's always playing in the brewery, let's name after this song. So. Cool. But then, like these two beers, the Imperial Stout and the Imperial Berry Sour, like they're just the beer again. The beer is the absolute star of that show. So the beer is just called Imperial.
What it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It doesn't have a cool, fancy, marketable name.
Doesn't need it.
No,
and those are made in such small quantities that it doesn't need to be sold at wholesale in big volumes. It's just like these will be sold out within hours or days. So it's like, well, the beer is the star here.
So we read with these two in particular that they get canned, sold at the Taproom exclusively, except for here tonight.
Yep.
When you can them and sell them at the Taproom, is that just in a basic silver can, or do you guys do some kind of, or is it just written on there? Imperial Berry Sour.
It's a bit of a different look to our project cans. So like the Akasha project cans do have some, I guess, more, I guess you call it more artistic artwork.
Yep.
These get put into cans that are just plain silver cans with a printed label over the top, and the label for the stout is kind of just like mostly black with a bit of texturing on it, and the berry sour label is like red with some waves. So it's probably not as artistic or like illustrative as some of the other beers are, but a different look again because these beers are from what we call our signature series. Okay. So there's again like a different look to those beers as compared to our core range, and then as compared to our Akasha project beers.
Awesome.
Yeah,
nice.
And I suppose you were talking about some really good beers there. How do you, like at a business level, at a sales level, how do you decide whether that's been a successful beer? Is it just purely sales numbers, or is it more untapped ratings? Do they come into it, or
Untapped? I think is a fraught one. You don't want to start looking too much into untapped rating. Like it's a nice bit of a guide into what the wider market might be thinking about it. But most of our feedback on a beer comes from our wholesale customers, so our bottle shops, our pubs that we work with, and then direct from consumers as well, and we'll hear a lot from them from the tap room, but also passed on in terms of what they think. But then, then you can also look into how fast a beer will sell out, what demand is like for a pre-order, that kind of thing. So there's a few different things that feed into it. To give you kind of a good overall picture, I think.
Yeah, interesting. It's cool about that you've got the tap room facility.
Yeah,
because you're like, look. It's a Sunday, you get up, you're not working, but you're like, look, I might just bloody brew something here. Let's try this out, and you can always try it out in the tap room and see how it goes, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's the fun thing about the tap room is, we've got all of our core range beers on there. We've got our most recent beers on there. We've also got stuff from our very small pilot kit that's on tap there, or beers that you wouldn't find in cans elsewhere or on tap elsewhere. So it's always definitely worth getting down there to find some stuff that might surprise you, that you might not expect from us. Things that we're just kind of playing with to see, to I guess work on the process of making that beer, but also to see what the response is like from the consumers as well.
Yeah, awesome. Cool.
Now I think while we were going through all the beers and everything, we skipped over the fact, Larry, what do you do? We never really, I don't think we got into what Larry does. Yeah, we were just straight into
too
the
excited.
beers. Well, there's all these delicious beers in front of us. So give us the information.
It's easy to skip over that because that's not important at all compared to the beers. But I'm the sales guy, so I'm a Victorian sales rep.
Yep.
So I look after selling all of our beers in and around Victoria and Melbourne, both on and off premise. So on premise being bars, pubs, anywhere that you'll drink it out of the glass, off-premise being bottle shops, takeaways, that kind of thing.
Cool. And did you become the sales rep within Akasha, or you were external and you were like, that's cool?
Yeah. So I was external. I spent probably the best part of almost 10 years working across hospo, bottle shop, retail, and wanted to change. I'd always loved Akasha's beers beforehand. I was always a big fan. And they were probably actually, I think, probably a big part of me getting into craft beer in the first place was some of the first beers that I had that were, that was really sort of more pointy end, independent, crafty beers that I had that really like opened my eyes to what was out there were Akasha beers. So I think, the business had expanded to a point that they were looking for a dedicated Victorian salesperson. Ad went up, I saw it, I thought, I'd love to do this would be great, what an amazing job it would be. Threw my hat in the ring and was lucky enough to get it, and it's been 3.5 years now, so it's been a little while, and it's been great.
Now, interesting, it's a very competitive craft beer market now, especially in a place like Melbourne.
For sure.
How do you find, because obviously being based in Sydney, how is it when you do go around to places in Melbourne? Generally, I would think the brand recognition is quite strong. But do you find a lot of places, like most places should have obviously heard of you, but are places very keen at, like, have you come in and say, yes, we definitely want your stuff, or do you have to fight for it sometimes?
No, well, you get a bit of both. Like, definitely, it's there's a lot of places that are very, craft beer focused who've known us for years. We've been selling beer to for a long time and are always, big fans. And then you go to other places that are probably not so craft focused, and they're just, general beer, beer retailers or bars who probably have a smaller, more local focus and may not have heard of a lot of breweries from Sydney or from Brisbane or from WA or whatever. So it's probably a bit more of a bit less recognition than you would get as a Melbourne brewery or a Victorian brewery. But I guess then the good part for me is I do love talking about our beers, and that gives me the chance to give this person or give these venues and stores, I guess, the ground up explanation and story of our brand and of our beers. So
and I guess on your, it's easy for you because the beers are delicious, they sell themselves, as you've said. You're not going in there trying to sell something that you're not really super keen on, but you're locked in, and it's like, mate, I don't need to say anything, try this, get this going.
Honestly, I feel so lucky that I do work for a brand where I can literally just not say anything and go, if they want to drink a hand of a stranger, sure. Give them a beer and go, just try that, and then let me know what you think. And the response is almost always, wow, awesome. Let's get some beer in the store.
Yeah, awesome.
You guys are independent, are you not?
We are, definitely.
Yeah, cool. So I don't know if this is a tough question, but I was just interested. I didn't mean it to be a tough question. But seeing some of the deals being penned by Stone and Wood and Bolter over the past couple of years, how important is it for you guys to remain independent and, not succumb to the temptation of the bigger distribution and the big deal?
Oh, look, I mean, it's probably hard for me to speak to it, me being just the Victorian sales guy, not being, the owner or one of the owners. But everything that we've always spoken about in-house is that independence is super important to us. And I think just being able to probably have so much more freedom with what you do with your brand and your beers when you are independent makes a big difference. And, always, at the end of the day, I think it's just about trying to introduce more people to good beer and to good independent beer, and just trying to get that stuff into more hands, I think is what our goal has always been. So, I mean, I'm sure there's, like you see, every year there's always, breweries that are, small, medium, large, whatever, growing, that end up getting bought out by one of the big guys. But I think, I think there's such a strong focus on independence for us because it allows us to do what we want, but that usually means making the beer as good as possible, as well as possible, and not having to make any compromises, not having to, cut any corners or cut costs because, we've got an overlord up here trying to cut back on their costs.
Yep. And I suppose, that fits in with your mission statement that your biggest thing is quality.
And, for sure, yeah.
And it's something that I can taste. We've done a couple of tasters so far, and trying to think about the difference. And obviously did a bit of research, but the mission statement is the biggest importance is quality.
Oh, for sure. First and foremost is always the quality of the beer.
Yep.
Like I said before, we don't. The beer is made first, and then the can or the branding is made around that.
Yep.
And then in other senses, the beer is again just the first priority. We don't put anything else before that, because once you do, I think that's when you can start maybe losing focus and maybe having a few issues pop up in your production process that you don't want. So yeah, staying independent is, I think, a huge asset in that you can always focus on what your core is, and for us it's super high quality beers basically.
Yeah, fantastic.
Do you get any feedback in terms of the fact that you still are independent? Because I know even personally, and I can't speak for these guys, but I get the vibe, like when you hear about these guys that are kind of signing big deals, and credit to them, it's still a business. They need to make their money. There's no denying that, but you kind of like, you see a Bolter beer, for example, next to Akasha beer, and it's like, I'm going to buy the Akasha beer. Like, do you get that from people that are kind of like, I love that you're independent?
Yeah, sometimes you get, I think, a little bit from the consumer end, but probably more of that kind of feedback comes from our wholesale customers, so our bars and bottle shops and pubs who...
This place is a great example of that, because they did used to have the Bolter XPA on tap. Once Bolter were bought out, they removed it straight away. And that's it's like a Bolter again. Like, we still enjoy an XPA every now and then, but just in that case, they're going for independent in a place like this, and we love that, and that's why we come here to try new stuff.
For sure, yeah. Look, the beers that the Bolter makes and, say, Stone and Wood make are still great beers, but there's some places that have a strict indie-only kind of policy, which is great for breweries like us who don't have that kind of huge marketing pool of a Lion Nathan or whoever else, and it pretty much just gives you a great space and a great chance to get your beer out to people who might not have had it, and where you aren't competing against just purely how much marketing money a business has.
Yeah, of course.
About 5 years ago, I sat in this establishment speaking to Ben Krause from Bridge Road.
Yep.
And I was talking to him about the trends, and at the time sours weren't huge yet.
Yeah.
And he was talking to me about how the industry expected a saison boom at some point that never eventuated, but he thought at the time sours might be coming soon, and then that's eventuated. Do you, in your line of work, have a bit of a prediction of what the next 5 years might be like in regards to
Nostradamus?
Or
Mate, if I knew, we would be all over that. If anyone knew what that next boom would be, they would be all over that. And that's such a hard thing to predict. Like, right now, lager is the thing, really. Beer's done like a full 180, and it's come back to being just, I think that all the rage style right now is clean, crisp, well brewed, and like long fermented lagers. Like sours were massive for a time, and then I think hazies are still definitely going. I'm not sure if I'd even call that a trend anymore. I think it's probably just like a permanent thing now, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the hype of hazies as well. Like you see hazy on a can, it's like, I'd give that a go.
Yeah. And then, there was a time when really big fruited beers that was all the rage. It's so hard to try and predict what the next thing's going to be, because again, like I said, if someone knew, they'd be all over it.
a year ago, I hadn't heard of a cold IPA.
Yeah,
that's something.
Yeah.
But that comes back to what you were saying about the lager-based sort of crisp.
Yeah,
a lot of the cold IPA. Isn't that meant to be part of the sort of backing to a cold IPA?
I'm sure Larry's it can answer this better than I, but it's a
eyeline,
lager yeast in an ale style beer.
I think that's it. It's either a lager yeast and an ale style beer, or an ale yeast with a lager temp. So but it is definitely like a bit of a crossover in between. And I've had quite a few cold IPAs now, just in the process of trying what's out there in the market, and they do taste really, really similar to an IPL, so an India Pale Lager. That's definitely probably. I think it's also, I don't know if it might go hand in hand with the growth in lagers in general, but also just the fact that it is a brand new style out of the States, and like, I think it's a brand new style is going to get picked up, pretty quickly in terms of breweries trying to try their own hand at it. So I think cold IPAs were only really sort of developed in the States within the last couple of years. So once there's a new name, a new tagline, a new product, people are going to try it out.
Absolutely,
pretty quickly.
yeah. Well, especially with craft beer drinkers, we were talking to Dan before about that. It's a lot of craft beer drinkers tend to just be like, I just want to try new things. So they see that cold IPA on the shelf, and they're like, oh, I've not seen that. I'll give it a go.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a huge part of, I guess, craft beer in general. Is like, you've got such a huge number of independent breweries, pushing 700 probably in the country. All, not all, but a lot of them with really, really regular weekly or fortnightly kind of new releases. So with that kind of huge volume of new beers coming out, all the craft beer drinkers are just like, I just want to try everything. So it's always, a can of, go into a bottle shop, a mix 6-pack, every week of brand new beers, because there's so much out there and there's such a, huge wave of beers coming out that everyone wants to try as many as they can, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's craft beer is the new Pokemon cards.
You actually you have to untap them all, basically.
Yeah, really do. Absolutely. Do you boys have any other questions for Larry before I ask him some very simple ones?
Oh, well, I'm sure I've got a million questions, but we've only got a finite amount of time.
I'm looking forward to this.
No, yeah, what do you got?
Okay, so I'm going to keep it real simple, and this is just more for my records.
Yeah, sure.
Goes or goza?
Goza.
Goza.
Okay.
Okay.
We're 1 for 2 then. We had a Akasha, not Goza.
If we didn't have goza, I did put in goza in the ring.
Yeah.
Napa or Nipa?
Oh, Nipa.
Nipa.
Yeah.
We got that wrong. Very embarrassed. Sorry.
No, all good.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, well, come on, I got that wrong. I was only going off. You guys got me into it.
Huh?
See, the eye. The eye is
Yeah,
what
the
gets
eye
it.
does.
No,
Yeah.
fair enough.
I think that's all the pronunciation questions I had.
File that away for later.
I suppose. Just want to thank you for your time. It's
No, not at all.
Great event. It's bloody great weather. PS. It's excellent. It's going to be a really
Absolutely
nice
turned
night.
it on today. This afternoon was really great. It's still nice.
Is this your first time up this way?
It
or-
is, yeah.
Okay.
So, I've been to Albury.
Yep.
I've been through Wodonga a couple of times, but it's my first time at this venue at the Good Shed.
Yep.
My first time spending some time in Wodonga. So
Awesome.
nice little part of the world for
It's
sure.
bloody, especially recently, and we were saying to Dan, it's probably consequential, but it's built around Good Shed. Like Good Shed were the first one, one of the first in this Junction Square area.
Yeah.
And it's just expanded from there, and it's like, we'll attribute it to Good Shed.
Oh,
being awesome.
I think it's definitely on Dan and Cal for sure. Yeah.
Well, there's probably two more things I have. It'd be remiss of me not to mention these two exclusive beers that we've got in front of us.
Yeah, these are some absolutely just
Now,
really special phenomenal beers.
Yes.
This is
Excellent.
something.
This is something.
Yeah.
It's absolutely delicious. Do you want to talk us through just a quick overview?
Yeah, sure.
Of those two?
So these are part of, I think, what I mentioned earlier, which is our signature series, which is where our brewers get to try bring some really, really fun, interesting beers that we probably wouldn't be able to just experiment with on a really large volume. So these are quite small volume beers. So our Imperial Berry Sour, I think there's it's fruited at about 160 grams per litre of fruit.
There would have to be all of the berries in here by the taste.
All of the berries,
Yeah, like
definitely.
All of
The world
Berries are
sold
extinct.
out. Yeah, like we're done. Akasha bought them all.
I think there was raspberries, blueberries, boysenberries in there. It's such a great beer. And the colour, it's rude talking about colour on a podcast of this beer, but the colour is just amazing.
Well, we got video
Oh, there
now.
you go.
Just jump in there.
It's beautiful,
How good.
deep crimson, such a great body and mouthfeel, and all that fruit comes through really well. Just the right amount of sour. This is the first I've tried this beer, and it's just amazing.
I personally love an Imperial Sour. I'm not completely sold on sours and gozas.
Very good, well said.
I was
We've been
listening.
saying gose because it's more fun to say.
Oh yeah, for
But-
sure.
Like it kind of tricks the
Much
people.
more jazzy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the Imperial, I just think, because it's a lot more, it's fuller.
Yeah.
Like your traditional sours are, for me, a touch thin, whereas you get that Imperial, it's like, this is
Yeah,
heavy
I,
hit.
So full.
I think your regular kind of sour beer is a little bit thinner, but that's kind of by design. It's meant to be a very much more refreshing, easy drinking beer. Where this is, it's 7%, so you're not smashing pints of it. But yeah, just a fuller body and more of a, I guess, well-rounded kind of beer.
Yeah. And I just had the first sip of was it Jack Daniels?
Jack Daniel's Barrel Stout, yeah.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Now, I just have to say, I'm a bourbon and whiskey drinker.
Yeah.
Hudson is as well. Simon, not at all.
Okay.
Now, we've had some...
Yeah, you can see,
we've had
you
some
can see him
bourbon-
preparing.
We've had some bourbon barrel-aged stouts before, and he saw the name and went, oh, no, he was a bit worried.
Yeah.
But I can alleviate your fears because whilst there is a little bit, I don't want to go into detail about it because I'll get it wrong.
Yeah,
I want to hear from the professional.
Let
about-
Larry talk you down from the ledge that you're on.
No, this is such a great beer. This is probably one of, if not the first, barrel-aged beers that we managed to do. So this beer was actually brewed probably about 12 months ago originally. Oh, sorry, it was brewed a lot longer than that ago, and it was barreled for, I think, 6 months and was released the first time around about 12 months ago. And that whole release was only in cans in a very, very small amount. And then this keg was left in the cool room, so it's been keg conditioning for 12 months pretty much.
Aged again.
Yeah, exactly. So it probably has had time, like if there were any kind of sharp Jack Daniels barrel edges, to smooth them out a little bit. And I think it's just, and then, so this has been sitting in the cool room, like I said, for 12 months, and kegged again freshly this morning from what we had it sitting in.
Yep.
And carbonated, and it's come out so just well rounded and just such a lovely beer. 10.5%, and it does not drink like it at all. You couldn't tell.
Before you give your review, I do have a couple of questions, just quickly. Sorry. You mentioned that you've kind of had it sitting there for 12, not sitting there for 12 months. That makes it sound like it was just out there.
Yeah.
But so how do you store it for something like this? Does it sit in the 20-litre keg that we've got here, or?
Yep. So it's in the keg in the cool room,
ready.
So always kept cold.
Yep.
In the keg. So this was kegged pretty much out of the bright tank, which is the last stage of the production process, and then. Actually, no, sorry, this came from the fermenter, not the bright tank, because in the bright tank it would have been carbonated, and this was uncarbonated. So this was what we couldn't fit into the bright tank.
Right.
So this went straight from fermenter into keg, and then was in the kegs in the cool room until last week, pretty much.
And then it gets carbonated before it's tapped here.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Like I said, we taste beers. We don't know beers.
You guys have a pretty good idea from the sounds of it, definitely.
I think we've learnt more in the past half an hour than we have ever in our lives.
Oh, please! I'm not a brewer. I'm a shithouse home brewer. But I do sales.
Oh,
So
no, that's awesome.
What's your go-to homebrew?
I couldn't even tell you because they're all terrible. So
Mate, I would have a taste.
What was that one? I did one time, and you were like, it's like a Carlton Cold with orange. And I was like, that was nothing like what I wanted it to be.
Well, yeah.
look, it's an interesting go. Try it your hand out as a Carlton Cold with orange. I mean, that could be the next trend. You never know.
Could be.
Because I don't even think they make Carlton Cold. I don't think you knew what a Carlton
No,
Cold was.
I was like, I made this beer, and you're like, this is Carlton Cold, and I was like, what is Carlton Cold?
Does it exist anymore? I
Mate,
couldn't even
sit
tell
down.
you. Yeah.
It's like a blue moon. You used to have an orange. You meant to put orange in your
Yeah.
blue moon or whatever. That was what you made.
See, I was way ahead of the curve. I was.
But I have to say, I smelt it.
Yeah. Thoughts, please. What are you?
I smelt pure fear. because
Okay, that's
no,
the best review.
No. That's only because I had a bad experience as a child. Well, not a child.
Drinking
when I was
Jack Daniels?
16, drinking the brown spirits.
Yep.
But yeah, exactly as described, had a taste and all the like chocolatey smooth.
Yeah.
It was chocolatey, very smooth, and as you said, the sharp edges that you could probably smell to start off with just went away. So I started with pure fear, but I think I'll end with pure love, and then wake up tomorrow with pure regret.
Out
it's
of
delicious.
interest, had you had that in the can?
I have, yeah. I had that in a can, and I do think it has maybe mellowed a little bit in the last 12 months, and kind of developed as well. Like it's just the Jack Daniels is still there. That whiskey aroma and sort of background flavour is still there, but you've got I had one can, almost a year ago, but from what I can remember, like those chocolatey, raisiny notes have really come to the fore, probably more so than they did at the time.
Absolutely, yeah. I was going to say, it like compared to the Imperials, like the barrel-aged Imperial stouts we've had in the past, it just has that, like that chocolate body more so. Like, I think, like you said, it's mellowed out, whereas like a lot of your barrel-aged stuff, you can almost, like, and Simo could attest, as is previously mentioned, the bourbon, or it's just like, That's there.
I think the best way to do those kind of beers is to have, say that bourbon and whiskey element there in like a supporting role.
Yeah.
And not just be the first thing you smell and taste up front. You want it to be there in the background, kind of complementing what you get from the malt in the beer, because it's a beer first. It's not a whiskey. If you want a whiskey, just have a whiskey.
Yeah.
But done the right way, I think they definitely really contribute a lot.
Absolutely, and
No, that's absolutely fantastic. I tell you what, they did exactly
I'm
that.
just astounded that you liked it.
No,
Like,
'cause-
not
no,
that it's bad. Not that it's bad. I'm just
No.
saying, like, in the past, I've seen your reaction, and we've been like, we tasted one halfway through a podcast, and he basically went home. Like, he was done, and he switched off. Harvey Norman, 60 months interest free.
Yeah.
He was done.
That's 100% correct. I believe I said the words, I need to go home. So, yes, very good. So, what
I'm
we might
stoked
do-
to hear that we've been able to convert you.
Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. I suppose the last question we have, like we've asked you a lot of questions. Do you
Please.
have anything that you would like to pass on, or like that you haven't mentioned yet, or anything like that?
Oh, I don't know. That's I'm not sure. Not really. I just hope all your listeners and you guys as well, get out there and keep on that beer journey and keep trying new things and trying new brands and new styles and see where it leads you.
Sorry, one last silly question.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got the
From
silly
Victoria,
question.
we are primarily a footy podcast to talk about beer.
I heard that.
Who exactly do you support?
I was hoping you guys wouldn't ask this question because I'm an Essendon supporter.
Yes!
Probably
There you
aware
go,
of
you
how
guys
that
can
game
take
We
it
went.
won't. No, don't talk about the football. Like, talk about Essendon and not what happened. No more questions.
Excellent.
Cut the
Cool.
mic.
Cut the mic. Well, we might finish it up there, Larry. Thank you for being with us.
No, thanks for having me on. It's
on,
great.
on the first Border Barrels Beercast exclusively.
And if you're in 5 Dock,
Yeah.
Definitely
Get
get
down.
down to Spencer Street in 5 Dock and check the Taproom out, have a few beers and enjoy yourselves.
Akasha Brew on Instagram. I dare say you're on Facebook and all the other social media.
Akasha Brew on all the handles.
Yeah, and
Yep.
Akasha TV. There's a couple of episodes up there. Will it come back?
Oh, hopefully.
I think it should.
I think so too. I think
I
that
thoroughly enjoyed it.
it was good. I think the guys might have found themselves with a bit more, a few more pressing things to do. So hopefully it comes back
Yes.
sometime soon.
Yes.
calling for you maybe as host. You could host the Akasha TV
well,
return.
Look, we'll come
Bring it back.
and I'll just do a bunch of tastings of like all the barrel aged things that you've got and tell you if they're okay for people that have PTSD. PSD. Oh, goodness me. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Larry. Have a good night. Enjoy your time here in Wodonga.
Thanks a lot, guys. Great to be here.
This is my masterclass. Now,
This is Marcy's masterclass.
Yeah, on how to eat some
devouring
pizza.
a pizza.
Tell you what, straight into it. Now, this isn't my masterclass, but I'll tell you what, we have had a masterclass tonight in business, brewing, beers, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I tell you what, and I did say off air.
Interviewing?
Yeah, interviewing as well, not a
like,
skill.
Yeah,
I thought
like
we had.
my 50% of a journalism degree that I did has come into full effect.
Oh, that's worth the however many thousand hex you've got going on.
All of it.
All of it?
Yeah,
Nah.
like every dollar I make for the next 20 years is going to Hex, I feel.
Nah, that's good.
On a side note.
But I said this off air to the guys, and I said I regretted not saying it on air, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I really appreciated I think the commonality between our two guests. We had Larry from Akasha and we had Dan from the Good Shed. Was their passion for the game.
Absolutely.
And it's just there was no. We asked some questions, and they might have been a little bit silly, or they might have been a bit straight, or some might have been a bit too serious. But like they loved the game, and they had a answer for everything. And the overarching theme I would say is passion, and you could just tell they bloody loved it. So I really appreciated it.
Yeah, and I don't want to blow our horn too much, but I think they could genuinely recognise our want to learn for one, and two, like our passion for beer as well, and like passion for beer.
Yes, well, we could hear that.
Yeah,
for
that's
those,
in the guts.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
But you know what I mean. Like they could recognise that we gave a shit.
Yep.
Like we cared. We love beer. We love what they're about. We're helping local businesses. We're helping independent
Support
businesses.
independence.
And they're supporting us as an independent local podcast.
Yes, exactly right.
We might
No.
get bought out after this.
Oh,
Yeah, we
we're
might.
on Lion Nathan.
Yeah, we are waiting to get bored out.
Stop,
Who
stop
are-
offering
No, but
to
who are the
breweries
big-
and offer us.
Who are the big podcast people?
Nah.
Nah, well, look, I don't know. I mean, there's Joseph Regan, I think is his name. Rogan, is it?
iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
Rogaine.
Rogaine. Yes.
What other podcasts are there?
Yeah.
I think that's it. There's 3 podcasts in the
Yes.
world and ours.
Yes.
But I'll tell you one thing. We might not get bored out, but like from that,
We're definitely not getting bored either.
Yeah, but from that past 30 seconds, we might get paid out because we're talking absolute dribbles. So we'll probably finish it up here, guys. I don't know what you reckon. What are your
I reckon
lasting
you just need to
thoughts?
finish off your big, beautiful stout that I'm glad you enjoyed for a change.
I'll tell you what. It will, as I said, it will take a bit of an effort, but it was quite delicious. It was smooth, and the jagged edges. Let's get married. Yeah, so they've
I'm
been taken
too
out a
young
little
for
bit.
every reference that is made
Oh,
on this
yeah.
podcast
I'm a
if it
million
is
years
not
old.
made by me.
Yeah, just let us know if you did know what that reference was.
I just want, like, my final thing. So I was just talking to a couple of guys behind the bar and talking about the beers, and we're all in agreement. It's like some good bloody beers, isn't it? Like, it's not like, and we're not going to name any kind of names, but like the beers are popping up, and you're like, they're all good. And I said it to Larry. Hudson is not a fan of Gozas. I'm a fan of that Goza.
Yeah. I just like that
And-
we got an answer. We know that it's Goza.
Goza. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I look like it in the video, but I feel like bloody Megamind.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
all this
exactly.
information in my brain. Like, I'm going to go home and my wife's going to greet me at the door. I'm like, who are you? I've had to remove all other information to fit in
no.
what I've learnt tonight.
But I might have an explanation about their beers. So I did sort of allude to their mission statement. I know it is a kind of not overly exciting reading out a mission statement.
Well, it's funny you say this because I mentioned that we're not known for our research, and here you are mentioning mission
He's
statements.
got more notes on his old man pad.
No,
there you
it's
go.
like he's done all this research. He couldn't remember anything to save himself, and look at him.
I know. So one of the first commandments in our business plan was quality. Quality must be at the core of everything we do. After all, great beer is our everything. It's a simple mission statement, but speaks volumes about how we go about business of brewing beer. And you can fucking well taste it.
I wish our podcast was all about quality.
Yes, maybe we should change our mission
This
statement.
one is
What's our mission statement, Zach?
kick a barrel, drink a nice beer.
Well, I
Jesus
think we're
Christ.
going to end it right
Can
there
we
because
end on that?
that
That's
was
rubbish.
perfect.
Oh,
Absolutely perfect. We will see you when we see you, and you will listen to us when you listen to us. And
Absolutely.
I need to finish this before.
and
I
as
grow up
always,
anymore.
kick a barrel and drink a
drink a
nice
beer.
beer.
Yes.